across Texas. The issue is...
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas, and this is Texas, the issue is.
We are a little more than a month out from the March primary here in Texas, and a new poll has injected a sense of urgency in the race between dueling Democrats looking to face Senator Ted Cruz in the fall. That Emerson survey suggests that in head-to-head matchups, both State Senator Roland Gutierrez and Congressman Colin Allred are currently in a dead heat with the incumbent Republican. With the party's nomination up for grabs, Gutierrez is looking to convince fellow Democrats he's far more progressive than the competition. Senator Roland Gutierrez, there is no bigger advocate for the families of Uvalde, Texas. The Attorney General was just there. 600-page report. Your reaction?
Amidst all of it, what we've known all along is the refrain that I had heard on much of that body cam footage, which was, there's an AR-15 in there, there's an assault rifle, there's an AR-15. Over and over again, different cops suggesting that they were in fear of that gun. And that refrain culminated with one cop saying, I don't want to be clapped out today. I don't want to die. And we have to have a discussion about an assault weapons ban with exceptions in this nation. We've got to get back to having a real discussion on this, because we've got to save these children from more bloodshed. And it happens every week in this nation.
Senator, there are those who would say trying to ban the AR-15 in Texas is a political suicide.
They haven't seen what I've seen. And they haven't seen a little girl get dragged out by her leg by a DPS trooper. Slid trail of blood behind her. Her whole face just gone. I promise you, I know Dan Patrick hasn't seen those videos, and this governor hasn't seen those videos, or Speaker of the House, or Ted Cruz, or anybody else. They refuse to see what the devastation and the destruction that this gun does. But they also refuse to acknowledge that refrain, that the cops were afraid of the gun.
Senator, your ultimate goal is to face Ted Cruz in the fall. But to get there, you have an opponent in the Democratic primary. What is the difference between you and Congressman Allred?
I think he's confused as to which primary he should be running in. And we need to start looking at the politicians that are in Washington, like Cruz, like Allred, and look at their intentions and what they want. I'm trying to change this world. I don't want to see another kid dead. I want to see Medicare for all, just like Colin Allred has and Ted Cruz has. I want to see the same kind of insurance, because we'd save $30 trillion. I want to see a world where young people can go to college affordably like you and I did. We have to call the game out of these politicians that sit up in Washington, go out and have a steak dinner with a lobbyist, and don't do anything about the things that are hurting people, and don't do anything to help people.
Congressman Allred voted with his Republican colleagues. He's running as a Democrat. It was on a border issue. Your response?
We have to be able, as Democrats, to run and not take up the mantle, the seminal argument of Ted Cruz. That's all he talks about every day. So Colin always likes to say that he's bipartisan this and bipartisan that. If this is his idea of bipartisanship, then we're in trouble. Then we're in trouble. Because he didn't even take up the mantle of some middle-of-the-road Republican, if there's any of those left. He took up the mantle of Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and yes, Ted Cruz.
My one-word reaction, contrast. Stephen, what's your word?
My word, progressive.
Okay, Rudy, lay it on us.
How about haymaker?
Okay. Plenty more to discuss here. The Fox Texas Trio will return on the other side of this break. Welcome back. Single-payer Medicare for all, highly subsidized higher education, and a national ban on AR-15 semi-automatic rifles. Just 3 of the highly progressive positions espoused by Democratic Senate candidate Roland Gutierrez. Rudy, you've covered the state senator from San Antonio and his crusade for the families in Uvalde. Do you think he's gaining any traction with Democratic primary voters?
Greg, I'll say this, he's a genuine guy. What you see is what you get. I mean, he's not a fake, he's not phony. What he is saying is from his heart. With that said, I think he is losing traction. And, he's certainly playing to the extreme base of his party with the ideas that he's pitching in the interview that he just did and on the campaign trail. That's why my word is haymaker. He sounds like a boxer, sounds like a Rocky Balboa who has been battered in the ring for several rounds. And the state senator is, he's swinging hard. He's swinging wide, trying for that knockout punch, but nothing seems to have landed so far, right? But maybe it's enough to get to a runoff, right? Remember, Rocky won in that rematch.
All right, Stephen, you have also covered Gutierrez, and clearly he's tacking to the left for this primary. While that may be a liability in a general election, could it be the message that resonates best with Democrats on Super Tuesday?
I mean, it could, and I mean, we all know primaries are to the reddest of the red and to the leftest of the left. I've been talking to candidates in multiple different races, and you're hearing a more progressive type of strategy and thought process. But you also want to, it's a fine line because, Beto O'Rourke got knocked on that. And granted, while you're just trying to win the Democratic nomination right now, you don't want to appear like Beto 2.0 talking about, we'll take your guns. Now, granted, are there real issues with guns? I think everyone knows that, whether some Republicans want to admit it or not. But hanging your hat on an issue like that could make you a singular issue candidate. And I'm not sure if that'll span out and make him the gun guy and then Colin Allred appear to be, I guess, a moderate guy?
All right, Rudy, you covered Gutierrez's unsuccessful legislative fight to raise the purchase age for semi-automatic rifles. Are you surprised he's taken that crusade up a major notch and calling for a ban?
Greg, not really. He's very close to the families from the Uvalde shooting, and they are understandably, upset, and they want something done, like a ban. Gun reform, as Stephen mentioned, it has support in the general public, but, here's the problem with that. His ban the gun hardline pitch has been tried before. It didn't help Beto O'Rourke when he took on Senator Ted Cruz in 2018. So it's important to note that the group that released the poll a few days ago that showed both Democrats are now tied with Cruz, well, that's the same group that put out a poll that indicated that Beto O'Rourke could win. He didn't. And I think history shows hardline extreme positions may win votes in a primary. But in Texas, that strategy will lose in the general election. And that's a big dilemma for Gutierrez. He doesn't want to be, as Stephen said, Beto 2.0.
Can't say I disagree. Stephen, as you heard, Gutierrez is looking to paint Colin Allred as a dino, Democrat in name only, citing the congressman's recent border resolution vote with Republicans. Could that tactic be persuasive with rank-and-file progressives?
In a primary vote, that can be a good tactic to use. Try to paint your opponent as someone who really isn't having those progressive messages that have been trendy, especially with younger voters. Now, the question is, will those younger voters turn out? Will the people with the more progressive thoughts turn out? Even in a primary, Colin Allred can say, hey, I'm trying to find a solution, instead of just saying, well, you're talking about something that has no chance of passing when I'm actually getting things done. So a good strategy from Gutierrez. We'll have to wait to see if turnout impacts that.
All right, Rudy, same question. Can Gutierrez convince fellow Democrats Allred is a GOP collaborator?
Hey, don't throw in the towel. I go back to my word, haymaker, swing away. But, when you do swing away, eventually, you open yourself up to a counterpunch. That tactic seems to be the theme, though, for this election cycle. Look what the Republicans are doing to themselves. They're all swinging away. So swing away. Quickly,
Stephen, Colin Allred has TV ads playing here in Houston. Could that spell the difference?
Yeah, he just did a big ad buy in Dallas, and Houston name recognition is going to be important. It depends. We'll have to wait and see, honestly, of whose name has more traction.
Let's leave it right there for now. You can see the interview and any of our interviews in the past by going to our YouTube pages.
and visit our social media sites to continue the conversation.
You heard from State Senator Roland Gutierrez. Next week, Congressman Colin Allred. Remember to let us know what you think the issue is.